Okay, good morning, everybody. This week is Parashas Shekalim because every time we have Shabbos comes out, we're going to be either on or before Rosh Chodesh Adar. We do Parashas Shekalim for the Maftir. Parashas Shekalim, of course, is from beginning Parashas Kisisa. We're talking about Bnei Yisrael giving the Machzis Shekel. Before I get into the topic of Parashas Shekalim and Rosh Chodesh, I want to mention the halachic issue, which people are not always aware of, which comes up this Motzei Shabbos, which comes up from time to time, which is that if you're eating shalosh shudas, and you're eating shalosh shudas when you get the shkia, so you should not eat any bread after shkia. Because if you eat bread after shkia, at least not a kazayis b'chteichilos pras. In other words, you can eat very small crumbs and very slowly, because otherwise you went into a question whether to say yala v'yavo during benching or not, because after shkia is already Rosh Chodesh. But it's questions whether you say Yala V'Yavo at the same time as Ritzei, which you're saying from Shabbos. So I don't know if your teachers have spoken about this, but it's best to avoid the quick issue. And you can eat anything you want after Shkia, but try to avoid eating bread, or again, eat the bread very, very slow in small pieces so you don't have a kazayis b'chteichilos pras. That way, when you bench, you only say Ritzei and not Yala V'Yavo. If you do happen to eat bread after what's definitely Tzeis Kochavim, which means about half an hour after Shkia, so then you would actually have to say both Ritzei and Yala V'Yavo, even though it's paradoxical, because Ritzei is from Saturday, from Shabbos, and Yala V'Yavo is from Sunday, from Rosh Chodesh. And nevertheless, you would actually say both. But it's best not to get in that situation and to stop eating bread before Shkia on Shabbos afternoon. Okay, I hope that was relatively clear. Let's go on to the Parsha. So the idea of Parashas Shekalim, there's a fascinating Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes was the second Ger Rebbe. He was a great Gadol b'Torah and Hasidus, and he died in the year 1905. He wrote many Sfarim, and one of his Sfarim, which is the Sefer on Shas, on Gemara Maseches Tainis, he speaks about the Mishnah, where it says, Mishenechnas of Mematim B'Simcha, Kach Mishenechnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. Just like from when Av begins, we diminish the amount of Simcha in which we're involved. When Adar begins, we increase the amount of Simcha in which we're involved. So he brings down that Rashi there explains, Rashi in that Mishnah says, Mishum Purim and Pesach. The reason why Mishenechnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha is because now we're coming close to Purim and to Pesach. Interesting, people I don't think focus on that so much, that Rashi, but according to Rashi, in fact, the Simcha, which begins with Chodesh Adar, is not supposed to stop. That's for sure after Purim, but it's supposed to get greater and greater until you reach actually Pesach. So it's a constant increase in Simcha until you get to Pesach. But the Sfas Emes says that Lule Pirush Rashi Mishum Purim Purim Pesach. Not for that Rashi having said it's on account of Purim Pesach. I think I'm just translating what he says here. He says, I think that since it's linked to Av, it says Kishem Shemishnichnas Av Mimati B'Simcha, just like when Av comes in, you diminish the Simcha. So to Mishnichnas Av Adar Marbim B'Simcha, that it must be there's some link between the two. Why? Because in Adar was the time when they used to collect the money for the Karbanos and for the Beis Hamikdash for the coming year, and that's what we read Parashas Shekalim before Rosh Chodesh Adar, because during Adar, everybody's expected to bring the Machzis Shekel, to have a shekel to fund the Beis Hamikdash, to fund the Korbanos for the coming year, which was due on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So Adar, they would collect it, and so everything was collected by Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And but the Bnei Yisrael, he says, Nadvu Bnei Yisrael b'Simcha Shikli HaKodesh. When Nesel gave Machzis a shekel in the midbar, they gave it with great happiness. A kamavur kampa in pasuk, like it says several times in pasuk, when Nesel gave to the Beis Hamikdash, there was great simcha in the world. Not sure exactly which pasuk he was referring to, but obviously there's some indication to that somewhere. And Kevich Kibbaleim b'Simcha, since they accepted upon themselves with simcha nidvas halishka to give this money to the Mishkan and to the Karbanos, Adayin Simcha Nimtza B'Adam. That Simcha is still present in Adam. When It says when we read Parashas Shekalim, this simcha is aroused in the world. So there are very fascinating things in the Sfas Emes. First of all, the idea that the simcha, which is embedded in Adar, stemmed from the simcha of Bnei Yisrael when they gave the Shekalim in the Midbar, even much earlier than for Purim, is a fascinating chiddush. And the idea that when we read Parashas Shekalim, this becomes aroused in the world. In other words, there's a special aura, a special atmosphere, which enters the world every year when we read Parashas Shekalim, which is the advent of the simcha, which then increases and gets enhanced throughout Chodesh Adar. So the simcha, he says, is from Parashas Shekalim. And the obvious question is, he says, yes, Bnei Yisrael did this mitzvah b'simcha. That's why we still have simcha in the world on that account today. But what was the simcha Bnei Yisrael experience, which we're supposed to experience during this time of Adar each and every year, beginning with Parashas Shekalim? So the question in general is a more fundamental question. What exactly does it mean to be happy? What does simcha mean? We talk a lot about simcha, but we don't define simcha. And in Hebrew, we have many terms for simcha. In the last bracha and Sheva brachos, you have Asher bara sasa v'simcha chasam v'kala gil arina ditza v'chedva ava v'yachol shalom v'reus. All those are different terms for simcha. Each one of them applies to a different type of simcha. And we could spend a long time analyzing them, but each one has a specific different type of happiness or rejoicing. So overall, we use the term simcha to refer to all of them. But in fact, there are many different types of simcha. But the most basic type of simcha is the simcha of feeling one is accomplishing something meaningful in this world. And that the Rebbe Rabbeinu Parashas explains that is the meaning of the pasuk we say in davening, Yismach leib mevakshe Hashem. It's in Hodu, right? Beginning of the Zimra. Yismach leib mevakshe Hashem. And literally means the heart is happy of those who seek after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Rebbe Rabbeinu Parashas, who was actually Bas Emes's grandfather's Rebbe, asked the question, it said, why does it say Yismach leib mevakshe? When are you happy? Are you happy when you're looking for your wallet? Are you happy when you find your wallet? When you find your wallet, you're happy, right? So if you lost your wallet, you're looking for it, you're not so happy. When you find it, you're happy. So it should say Yismach leib motzei Hashem. It should say the happiest are of those who find HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not the people who are looking for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Should be the happiness should be greatest when you find Hashem. So the answer the Rebbe Rabbeinu gives is a very profound and powerful answer, which is that happiness is having a meaningful quest in life. There are certain quests, which are quests where you're looking for something which is lost, and then you find it, and the quest is over. The other quests in life, which are lifelong missions and life works, which are to constantly be involved in seeking to do something or accomplish something or do something meaningful or leave a meaningful impact in this world. And that is, when we talk about Mevakshe Hashem, obviously there's no limit to being Mevakshe Hashem. There's no place where I can say, oh, I found Hashem, now I'm good, now I go out to do the next thing. Finding Hashem means that you are trying to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in the world. And obviously the way we work is that we don't just try and find it, that it's like under a rock or in a hidden place and then we uncover it. No, we bring Hashem's presence into the world. That's why Chazal say that it says by the Mishkan, "V'shachanti b'socho lo ne'emar ela v'shachanti b'socho." It doesn't say I'm going to be in the Mishkan. The Mishkan is a tool for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Shekhinah, v'shachanti b'socho, to be within us. So therefore, when we have a Mishkan or a Beis HaMikdash or Karbanos, they're not an end in of themselves. They're a way of bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence into the world, of being Mevakesh Hashem by going to the Beis HaMikdash. Of course, now we don't have Beis HaMikdash, so we do it in other ways. We do it with Torah, we do it with Tefillah, we do it with mitzvahs, but it's the same principle. We're constantly being Mevakesh Hashem. So somebody who has a meaningful quest in life it feels the ultimate sense of happiness. It's not, as I said before, there are many different terms in Hebrew for happiness. We have them in English too. There's excitement, there's giddiness, there's thrills, it's all sorts of things. These are various different states of mind. The happiness talking about is not happiness where a person is jumping up and down for joy. different type of happiness. Tell you about happiness where a person feels an inner sense of meaning and purpose, which is the ultimate sense of satisfaction that a person could have in this world. And I like associating this word sameach, shin mem ches, to the word shama, shin mem hey, which is that they're very similar. Right? Hey and ches are from the osios mischalfos, interchangeable letters. So there's a statement, a very famous statement from the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov says, "The makom shemachshavto shel ha'adam sham hu kol ha'adam." In the place where a person's thoughts are, that's where the entirety of a person is. It stresses sham hu kol ha'adam. So a person can be in Florida or New York and thinking about Eretz Yisrael. And according to Baal Shem Tov, although not physically in Eretz Yisrael, where a person's thoughts are, that's where a person is. In other words, you don't live in this. This is a very powerful and basic principle of Hasidus. You don't live in your outer environs. You live in your inner world. The world is created within yourself. Actually, most of the time, unless you're in some sort of trance or so you're focusing very, very powerfully, your outer world and your inner world are the same world. But they don't have to be that. A person can be in a different inner world than they are in the outer world. And hopefully when we daven, we experience a little bit of that we're somewhere else, not in the room where we are, but we're in a higher place. And of course, Chazal give us the parameters of that by telling us we should think we're in Yerushalayim, because that's where we turn towards Yerushalayim, focus on the Beis HaMikdash, etc. So the Makom Shemachshavto Shel Adam Shamu Kol Adam means that a person should place himself shon. You place yourself in a place where you would like to be, where it's ideal for you to be, even though you're not physically there at the moment. The idea is there. So a person who's sameach, he has his thoughts in the right place. He put himself sham. Now it says it's vasemes. The sham here of this simcha is the sham of the Beis Hamikdash. The sham of karbanos is the sham of preparing for the Shekhinah to be in Am Yisrael, which took place in the Midbar during this time, at the time of Chodesh Adar. It took place every year during Chodesh Adar when they used to give the shekel each every year. And that's the fascinating thing about Am Yisrael, which does the mitzvah of tzedakah with simcha. Right? Tzedakah. I'm not saying other people don't, but we know Am Yisrael has a specialty in this. The Chara would seem that you're not so happy when you give money. But you're happy when you have money than when you give money. So the idea is obviously no. Money is good because it can be used for meaningful purposes. Money itself is meaningless, and actually it's insignificant because it's either a piece of paper, a piece of metal, which you can't do anything with. Just a symbol. But the idea of money making a person happy is not the possession of money. It's using the money the right way. A person possesses money and is happy because they possess money is really misguided. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Having money in of itself could be meaningless to a person. I'm not saying it is, because we're brought up in society which has this flaw that associates being happy with having money. State, that's not true happiness. That's something else. It could be a sense of superiority, a sense of security, perhaps, but it's not true happiness. Happiness means I'm using my resources for something meaningful and accomplishing something meaningful in this world. And that's why we have this idea of making simcha when we make a siyum. Because when you make a siyum, you say we have accomplished something meaningful, something powerful, something significant, something which has a positive impact on myself and on the world. Therefore, I make a simcha in order to say, oh, I'm so happy that my life has this meaning. So the idea of giving tzedakah again is doing, and chesed in general, is that we know that we're supposed to do things with our resources to be mated with others, to benefit others. It's like Kodesh Baruch Hu does. And the ultimate simcha we can have is being with Tselem Elokim, reflecting on Kodesh Baruch Hu, and doing things to give to others and build this world in a positive way, in a holy way. So therefore, what Sfas Emes is saying is that, yes, of course, Mishnechnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha has to do with Purim. But Purim in itself has to do with Leich Knossos Kol HaYehudim, with everybody coming together, with Achdus. Purim itself is based on the mitzvah of Mishloach Manos Matanos Lev Yonim. which are mitzvahs which are b'ram chavero, in order to establish a greater and better Am Yisrael. It begins with Parashas Shekalim, when Am Yisrael comes together to say, we're committing ourselves again to bring a place and bring the avodah in this world for the Shekhinah. And that's why it's a fascinating thing which we do on usually in time Esther, Erev Purim, which is to give a zeicher l'machzis hashekel. Not a machzis hashekel anymore, but we give a zeicher l'machzis hashekel. We give take $3.50 to put them into a plate, and the person is supposed to pick them up and zeicher machzis hashekel, $3.50, because they represent the three things they gave in the Dava to the Mishkan and the Midbar. And the zeicher machzis hashekel is not a mitzvah. It's a minhag. Why do we have such minhag? To commemorate that simcha which Am Yisrael had when they gave the machzis shekel in the midbar, which is supposed to be the basis for our simcha even today in Mishnechnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. So we should all be zoichev, of course, whether we're in shul and Shabbos morning, which is a wonderful thing to do. In shul to hear Parashas Shekalim. It's not a chiyuv. You don't have to go, but it's a great thing to do. And to hear Parashas Shekalim, whether it begins then or whether it begins in Motzei Shabbos with Shodesh Adar itself, we should all be zoicha to have the simcha during Adar and take the idea of simcha to the rest of the year. Yusmach le'mevakshe Hashem, to look to be like a Kodesh Baruch Hu, to emulate Hashem, to bring Hashem's presence into the world, to be constantly on a quest which is meaningful to us and makes our lives meaningful of doing what's in Hashem in the world. And that way we'll be zoicha to have the true simcha which is appropriate and uplifting for Purim and the rest of the year.
Thank you.